You mentioned Renee Good and Alex Pretti not being angels. Do you think any of that justified what happened to them, though?
No, I don't. It should have not happened. It was a very sad, to me, it was a very sad incident, two incidents. And, they mentioned the one now, they don't mention the other. Well, I think they were both sad. And, who feels worse about it than anybody? The people of ICE.
Good.
Trump referred to Renee Good as a terrorist who he literally said, who ran an ICE officer over. But now all of a sudden, he's saying that it is tragic. Now, I wish I believed that he felt that way, but I don't. I think it's a load of crap. But Cenk, what are your 2 cents?
So guys, this story is important for 2 reasons. One, you're gonna see the actual polling where you see where the American people are, not where the left or the right thinks they are, but where they actually are, right? And number 2 is, look at how fake Donald Trump is. Because before he's like, they're terrorists, they had it coming, they're savages. And now he sees the polling and he's like, oh, I meant it was tragic what happened. Did you?
Well, if you really think that, you would fire Stephen Miller like yesterday.
Or Christine Ohm, or Bavino,
sure.
All these guys. But the way that he switches his rhetoric after they give him a talking point and tell him, hey, you're becoming unpopular, so why don't you switch what you're saying 100%? He does. He's a total phony.
So over the past few weeks, ICE has gotten a pretty bad rap for a pretty good reason. They have been brutalizing the community in Minneapolis. There were 2 immigration agent related fatal shootings. Of course, Renee Good was the first one. The second was Alex Pretti. But according to President Trump, they're the real victims here are the federal agents who carried out the shootings because they feel terrible. I'm not kidding, he literally said that, watch.
After the shooting of Renee Good, you said ICE made some mistakes. What were the mistakes?
Well, look, I'm not happy with the 2 incidents. It's not, it's both of them, not one or the other. He was not an angel and she was not an angel. You look at some tapes from back, but still, I'm not happy with what happened there. Nobody could be happy, and ICE wasn't happy either. But I'm gonna always be with our great people of law enforcement. ICE, police, we have to back them. If we don't back them, we don't have a country.
Do you think any of that justified what happened to them, though?
No, I don't. It should have not happened. It was a very sad, to me, it was a very sad incident, 2 incidents. And they mentioned the one now, they don't mention the other. Well, I think they were both sad. And who feels worse about it than anybody? The people of ICE. They're strong, tough people. And they have to be tough because we're dealing with hardened criminals.
Right.
Okay. Let's actually talk about the reality of the reactions from these federal agents following the fatal shootings they had carried out. So according to Stella Carlson, one of the bystanders who was there and happened to capture the video of the fatal encounter between Alex Pretti and CBP agents, after the shooting, she said the agents initially scattered before returning to ostensibly try to render some sort of aid to Pretti and maneuvering his body around like a rag doll. Of claims made by another witness who said agents moved Pretti's body to count the bullet holes, Carlson said, quote, I watched that and that is what I felt like they were doing. She expressed disgust at them, appearing to treat him like he's a deer. Here's another example of how these agents react after shooting people, including American citizens, of course. So for instance, in November, a story that I've brought up quite a bit on the show because of how egregious and unjust it is, Miramar Martinez is a US citizen from Chicago, okay? So she was shot 5 times after a Border Patrol officer's car collided with hers. Now, they had claimed that she rammed their vehicle, but surveillance footage proved otherwise, that didn't happen. Okay, so the charges against her were dropped, but the reason why I'm bringing this up again is because of what we learned in regard to what the person who shot her, the federal agent who shot her, what he said after doing so. His name is Charles Exum. Here's how he felt after shooting this woman.
These are images of texts sent by the agent who shot you. And they're actually disturbing to read, but I think it's important for the public to see this. The agent linked an article about your shooting and texted, "Read it. 5 shots, 7 holes. I fired 5 rounds and she had 7 holes. Put that in your book, boys. Oh well, it is what it is. Happens." This is someone that works for the United States government. I fired 5 rounds and she had 7 holes. Now he was talking about you, and it's our understanding that he was actually bragging about his aim, shooting an unarmed American citizen.
Additionally, in a text to his brother about the shooting, Exum wrote the following: "Sweet, my 15 minutes of fame, laughing my ass off." Adding in another text a day after the shooting, quote, "Cool, I'm for another round of F around and find out, laughing my ass off." And then during a court hearing, he acknowledged the messages and actually defended them, telling the court, "I take pride in my shooting skills." Has he been fired? Like, does Trump have anything to say about that guy? He shot an American citizen, and by the way, lied about what happened in the lead up to opening fire on this woman.
Yeah, so I think the point of ICE is to create this kind of havoc and chaos. And it was Trump trying authoritarianism and seeing how far he could go. Would the American people be okay? Well, you say when he first started, he going after criminals who are undocumented, no problem. He goes after mass deportations, starting to be a problem, and American people are very uncomfortable with that, right? And now they're mass thugs shooting American citizens and then laughing about it afterwards. The American people are deeply uncomfortable with that. So thank you, Americans, for pushing back, all of you, as you're gonna see in some of the polling we're gonna show you, and say, no, this is not, we don't want this crap. This third world nonsense, we don't want it. And we don't want you in our streets. So that's great. The idea that the ICE officers were like brokenhearted about it
is ridiculous.
Come on. Don't forget, Noble Mobile saving you a ton of money. So a lot of people are signing up now and beginning to realize, what the hell, why am I paying so much to Verizon and AT&T? So your bill's only $50 a month, but it can actually be less because they give you money back if you don't use your data. So if you're paying more than $50, there's no reason to not switch. It's crazy not to switch because same phone, same number, same contacts, literally nothing changes. TYT.com/switch, TYT.com/switch. All right, we'll be right back.
Look, there are people on the right who disagree with us when it comes to like mass deportations. You know, they want to be a lot more strict when it comes to deportations and all of that. We disagree with them, and that's fine. I say that's fine because I'm specifically referring to the people on the right who saw what happened in Minneapolis, who saw the shooting of Alex Pretti and recognized it as wrong, the wrong thing for Border Patrol to do. And realizing how dangerous it is to cheer on, militarized federal agents roaming our communities like this, terrorizing American citizens, profiling people. There are 2 groups of people in this country: people that you can reason with and have like legitimate good faith negotiations and discussions with, and then there are the extremists who, for whatever reason, love the idea of living in a society that isn't free, living in a society where state-sanctioned violence against its own people should be allowed. And I just disagree with that entirely. Yeah, that's not America.
The political spectrum has gotten so confusing because it bent in some good ways where the right and left now agree, release the Epstein files, get Israel out of our government, etc. But then it's also bent in a weird, bad way where the right wing, the extreme right wing that used to warn about the tyranny of government and the jackbooted thugs of the government are now coming all the way back around to, no, the government is great. You want jackbooted thugs that are masked and unidentified all over the streets killing American citizens. What? When did that happen?
Totally crazy.
Right?
Yeah. So
look, we're gonna get more into the polling, but one thing you should know, to Anna's point about the different sections of Republicans, Democrats, etc., is that about 25% in all the polls I've seen of Republicans that back Trump go, attaboy, ICE, shoot them harder, shoot them more, right? So you're not gonna talk sense in that 25%, right? But now we're seeing another quarter, in fact, 27% in a poll you'll see later in the show, of Republicans going, no, ICE has gone too far. Republicans, too far, okay? We didn't ask for this, let alone 77% of independents.
No, Cenk, this is amazing. I was reading a piece in Time just yesterday, and the percentage of Republicans who want to abolish ICE, believe it or not, those Republicans exist. It went from 10% not too long ago to now 19%. 19% of Republican voters want to abolish ICE.
Yeah, so guys.
That's correct.
So
crazy.
Look, I just don't want people, like if you take that 19% and say they're the same as the guys saying shoot them more.
Obviously they're not.
No, my point is that there are some folks out there on the left that are going, they're all the same, they're all racist, they're all fascist. Please don't. That 19% can vote in the right direction, and they want to abolish ICE. 19% of Republicans take the win, for God's sake.
Okay, so let me give you some other polling because I do think the polling is what motivated Trump to give the types of answers he did during that NBC interview. So according to a new poll released just yesterday, a majority of voters think that the Trump administration is not giving an honest account of the Alex Pretti shooting. More than a week after nurse Alex Pretti was shot and killed by federal agents in Minneapolis, 61% of 61% of voters think the Trump administration has not given an honest account of the incident, and 25% think the Trump administration has given an honest account of the incident, with 14% not offering an opinion. So the majority of Americans do not think that Trump is telling the truth about what's going on. Now, it is important to see that broken down by party, though. So for Democrats, 93% and independents 65%. I don't know how to make sense of this. Sorry.
No, among Democrats it's 93-2. Among independents 65-20. Think the Trump administration has not given an honest account of the incident. So Democrats is not surprising, but having a 45-point lead among independents gives you a sense of where the country really is, right? Now they finish up, but while Republicans are at 60-19, thinking the Trump administration has given an honest account. But again, there's that same 19% going of Republican voters, not even independent, but Republican voters for Trump say, no, I think the president's full of crap, and I don't believe him on ICE, not just on Epstein, but on ICE.
And collectively, according to the same poll, 80% agree that there should be an independent investigation into Alex Pretti's fatal shooting. The majority also agreed that ICE reform is necessary, including 92% support for body cameras.
That's beautiful.
That is
92%.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. Trump says no, they don't need badges. They could have masks. They don't have to identify themselves. 92% of Americans go, no, that's not the American way. In fact, I want body cameras on them.
Okay, hold on, let's be specific though. 92% support the body cameras, 61% support a ban on the masks.
See that, look, I'll take 61%, although that number should be way higher. And it makes no sense. Like if you want body cameras, that's even more of a way of tracking them than the mask. So you should be more upset about the mask. Like what? Like I have a body camera on a guy I don't know.
Law enforcement.
How do we hold them accountable then?
Needs to identify itself. Like they need to identify themselves.
Yeah.
Law enforcement is paid by us. They work for us. They need to identify themselves. And if someone is threatening them, if someone is doxing them, then they need to be dealt with. They should be prosecuted, okay? But the fact that all of us have to suffer with this weird secret police type situation, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. I pay their salaries. They need to identify themselves.
Yeah, and look, it's an indefensible position because otherwise then you should say, oh, our cops who actually bust some of the most dangerous gangs there are in the world should also wear masks and should take their badges off, etc. And we don't do that because that's not what America does. So it's just total. But you know what? Even though I think that 61 should also be 92, it doesn't really matter because 61 is overwhelming. Let alone the 92, let alone the Republicans, let alone the independents. So guys, in terms of like, has ICE gone too far? The jury's in. The American people think yes, they don't believe them and they think they've gone too far, especially in these shootings. And that's a good solid win for American democracy and the system that we have. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.